and welcome to another live harp lesson. I'm Zuzanna, for those of you who are here for the first time, and I'm a harpist and harp teacher based in Edinburgh, Scotland. And today's topic will be buzzes. Hello to everyone who's joining to watch this lesson. Say hello, do let me know if you can hear me alright, if you can see me alright, that would be really nice, or just say hello. One important information before we start talking about the topic of today's class. Next week there will be no live. Hello Kazaya. No live next week. I will be away with an orchestra, so the next live lesson will be in 2 weeks, and now let me do the maths. Today is 11, so that will be 25th of October that I will see you again. And it seems that everything is alright, at least on Instagram. If anyone is tuning on Facebook and watching, do send me your comments and just say hello. So, to today's topic, it will be a short lesson. I tried to have them rather shorter than longer, and I hope you like it. I hope that giving the information in a bit more concise way, or maybe also giving fewer information, will make them a bit more digestible and actionable. But let me know, as always, if you would like to have any more information on any specific topics, or any other comments or feedback that you have. So today's topic will be buzzes on the harp, and I do not mean the buzzes that are coming from your instrument. We'll be talking about the buzzes that you are in control of, and the two main kind of buzzes that I will be discussing today will be first, the buzz generated when you replace finger on the string. I will try to do lots of buzzes today just to make a point. So, that didn't work quite well. Let me find the thicker string. Yeah, still not very good. And I picked that harp especially because normally it's very noisy. Yeah, I hope you heard that. So this is the first type of buzz, which happens when you are approaching a string which is already vibrating a tiny bit too slowly. Let me try again. So this is this. I'm not using my fingernail, which will be something we will talk about later. This is just the fingertip landing on the string, and especially if you've got a bit harder skin, that might be heard a bit more. So how does that happen? Mostly the reason is that we are approaching a string a tiny bit too slowly, that we are maybe actually worried about making a buzz, and the string is getting touched when we approach really slowly. Then the other type of buzz is the fingernail generated buzz, maybe a tiny bit more common, where, and again, a string is already vibrating and you accidentally touch it with your fingernail. I don't think this is an intended musical effect, at least I haven't heard of any pieces which intentionally use placing fingernails on the strings, but that can happen a lot when you play, because lots of strings might be already vibrating and fingers are quite close. So this is again quite common. I'm just going to have a look at the quick cheat sheet, and as always you can download a PDF for that lesson from my website. I didn't manage to put the link up on Facebook yet. Normally it would be in the description, but if you go to www.zuzanna-harpist.com, in the resources section, the first from the top will be the live from today, and you will get your PDF there when you leave your email. So the next point of the list is dealing with the first type of buzzes, with the fingertip buzzes. And the main advice that I can give you here is being very confident when placing fingers on the strings. So don't go too slowly, just land. And don't worry don't obsess about that noise. There will be always certain amount of noise. On some harps it will be more, on some harps it will be less. For higher strings there might be hardly any noise, and for lower strings there might be a bit more, but there will be always something, so don't worry if you can't completely eliminate that. This will always be happening. What you can do to practice that is practice just placing fingers on the string, imagining that you're actually not going to play, but you're just going to dump the strings from sounding. So if you say played something like 3, 2, 1, try to pretend that with those 3 fingers you're dumping those strings. If what you are practicing is playing, for example, that, then start from practicing playing, getting the strings to vibrate, and then placing them there, imagining that you use your fingers not to play, but just to dump. That shift in thinking is actually very helpful when we're practicing that, when we're not thinking about playing. And then, of course, you add playing once you're happy with the dumping, with landing. Then the second kind of buzzes, the nail buzz, that is something that has a lot to do with hand position, and by making sure that your fingers are in the most ergonomic position for playing, you are actually able to eliminate a lot of those buzzes. So a few things to check. Make sure that your fingers 2, 3 and 4 are pointing down to the floor, so not like that, like you sometimes see on old paintings, or not like that, certainly. That will actually result in generating more buzzes. This seems a bit counterintuitive, but the least risk prone position is actually that, with 2, 3, 4 being down. Then once your fingers are closed after playing, because we all remember that after we close, we want to close the fingers in the palm of our hand and then let them relax. So after you close your fingers, let them open slowly like that. Don't allow them to get into that habit of going up and down. Make sure that after they close, they open really slowly from below. And last thing about fingernail buzzes, try to avoid sliding as much as you can. Sliding, I mean arriving on the strings and doing that, or another variant, arriving like that and then putting your thumb up. This lesson actually has a lot to do with the live number 22 weeks ago, when I was talking about sliding, and I cannot recommend you highly enough to see that live. So closing and opening from below will help you to avoid that, to just arrive on the strings, and do that confidently. If you want, you can practice making the strings vibrate and then imagine landing. Okay, so do check out what I said about wheels of the plane in the last lesson. A lot of people liked that metaphor. Okay, now a very quick checklist that you will also find in the PDF, what to do when you hear a buzz. So the first thing, check where the buzz is coming from and whether you are really in control of that buzz. The buzz can be coming from your hands, that's something which is in your control. It can come from the pedals or from the levers, but these are different things to practice. There is a live, I think it's live number 9 or 8, I will put the link in the description. There was a live about pedals etiquette, which I hope will help you with pedal buzzes as well. The buzzes might come also from the levers or from other elements of the harp. So just check that if it's not something coming from the harp. It might be also something as silly as when you have a big pedal harp, you've got the bass where you can put your tuner while tuning the harp. And very often when you're plucking some strings, the tuner will start buzzing. So just check that there is nothing on the harp that would cause that. And also check something else in the room. Radiators are quite prone to coming into vibration with the harp. Some other metal elements. Just try moving your harp, try having someone listening to what happens in the room, just to make sure that you're not obsessing about something which is really not within your control. Okay, so now that you've checked that this buzz is caused by your hands, check which finger is causing the buzz. So if it's something like that, you will see that it's second finger. This is fairly easy, but try to play maybe slowly and check, listen carefully. You can sometimes feel the string going against your fingernail. Not always. Sometimes you will be able to see rather than feel. But spend some time watching really closely what the fingers are doing. And then try to determine which type of buzz is it. That will be the next step. Which finger was that? And was it a finger placing on the string, or was it a fingernail touching string? Which string? That would be useful to know. Those two steps are something that you will be doing together, trying to figure out which type of buzz is it and which finger is causing the buzz. And then 2 last steps. Go slowly using the steps from the fingertip buzz tips and the fingernail buzz tips above. You will find them all in the PDF. And try working on eliminating unhelpful movements. Try seeing if you're not doing anything which is too excessive, which you think might be helping. Very often people think that if there are buzzes, then we need to be really careful and we need to do something like that, maybe eliminating the buzzes. And actually there is a harp technique very popular among French harpists. I'll see if I can demonstrate that to you. For example, when playing a chord and then going on the higher one, doing something like that. But this is something that I don't teach beginners, that I think that this is not really necessary for beginners. We're not working on eliminating just certain bits of harmony, and don't worry about that. For most of the pieces that you will be playing in the first year of playing the harp, this kind of fancy damping or sometimes going and damping just a particular string will not be really useful, and it may pick up some habits that you are actually working to get rid of. So don't worry about this for now. And then the last tip, quite a challenging one for people who are up for a challenge. If you are working on eliminating buzzes, say from placing here, try working on playing the same section an octave lower, because on the lower strings it's always harder and they are more prone to buzzing, especially the lowest metal strings. So if you think you will manage to eliminate the buzz, just for fun, go and play it an octave lower. Also, if you're not quite sure what's the reason for the buzz, going an octave lower and seeing what happens when you're there might increase the noise levels and might help you see which string, which finger, what's exactly happening and causing the problem. Wow, I think it was a shortest lesson up to date. I will check after the live because I can't see the clock on the screens while the live is running, but I hope you liked it. If you did, please let other people know that there is something like live harp lessons, which are free on each Friday apart from the next one, and please share, because I would like as many people as possible be able to improve their harp playing through these short lessons. I wish you all a very nice weekend, and I hope to see you in 2 weeks' time. Have a great weekend again.